Hi, welcome everyone. So our next talk is how big can Python integers really get by Tushar Sadhwani. Please give a round of applause by welcoming Tushar.
So I'm Tushar, and I have come all the way here to talk to you about integers. I think that they're a great data type, and specifically, I want to talk about how large can Python integers really get, or to be a bit more honest, it's like a fancy talk, just talking about C Python integers, how the data is represented. But I want to frame it like this so that more people come to the talk. But yeah, there you go. A quick refresher on how integers work in software in general. Most languages like C, Go, and Java have a maximum integer size. Generally depends on the CPU architecture. 32, 64-bit, it's going to have a 64-bit maximum unsigned integer size. Python does not have a maximum integer size. Several other languages use a separate class like a big int. Python doesn't have a big int class. It just has ints. So are Python ints just big ints? Well, yeah, kinda. But the details are quite interesting. So that's what I want to get into. And secondly, aren't big ints significantly slower than regular integer arithmetic? We'll get into that. Well, so first of all, let's take a look at some C code. What does an integer look like in CPython specifically? So there's a header file called CPython long integer representation.h, which has this long object. Within the long object, we have the PyObject head. The PyObject head, which contains you might have heard that basically everything is an object in Python. This is the reason behind it. PyObject head will contain the size of the object and then the type of the object, and that's required information for every Python object. What we're really interested in, though, is the pylong value, which is the struct that contains the integer itself. Now, pylong value, it contains two things: the LV tag and then the OB digit. The LV tag itself is for all intents and purposes, a 64-bit integer, which we use as 64 bits. There's several parts to it, and then there's the digit array, which is as you would expect, it's an array of digits. But the size of it is not fixed, actually. It says 1 right here. The 1 doesn't really mean much. What we're looking at is called a flexible array member. The way that they work is that you simply allocate some data for whatever length of the array that you want to allocate. Like if you want to make a dynamic array of size 10, we will allocate the struct and then 10 integers worth more of length. And then we simply assign the pointer to this struct, and now we essentially have an out of bounds data that we access as the 10 specific integer objects. And that's how you do dynamic arrays in C. But yeah, back to the topic of Python digits. We have the LV tag. The LV tag looks something like this, where we have a 64-bit integer. The first part of it tells whether it's signed or not, and then there's a flag which says if it's like a Python small integer or not. Now Python has this a weird thing where it has singletons for numbers between -5 and 256, because those numbers keep appearing repeatedly in simple math. So Python has shortcuts for when you do arithmetic with those, and they are practically singletons. With the rest of the 62 bits contain the data, and the data is actually the number of digits that we're going to hold within the OB digits array. So for a smallish number like 1, 2, 3, 4, we only need one this digit, so-called. So the data just holds 1. So this LV tag looks like a bunch of zeros and then 1, 1, 0. And the actual data is going to be in the 0th member of the OB digits. So the whole struct looks something like this, where the LV tag is just 6 and the OB digit holds the actual 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, sure. Big deal. That's pretty straightforward, right? Well, the two key things to take away from this is that numbers less than 2 to the power of 30 take 96 bits to store. There's 64 and then 32 right here. And that for numbers less than 2 to the 30, the math is going to be super fast. It's practically the same as with Java or with JavaScript or so on. But what about numbers bigger than 2 to 30? You get 2 digits. There's the 0th index and the first index. But wait, why is it 2 to the 30? The digit type is a 32-bit integer. Why 30? Well, let's take a look at that. This was the OB digit type from our previous example. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 in binary. It's a 32-bit unsigned integer, but only 30 of these bits are actually used. It does depend on your system. On some lower bit systems, it can be just 15 digits, but you can check this fact by doing sys.int.info, and that will show you the number of bits per digit. On my system, it says 30, and it's going to put only a maximum of 30-bit integers into the OB digit array. Why is that? It's to ensure that no overflow happens when you're doing the kind of math like multiplication and division and carrying over bits when you're doing it for a really large number. For example, it looks somewhat like this, where you have these uint 32t digits, 32-bit ints, and then we have this base, which is just 2 to the power of 30, and we make 2 of these numbers. They are smaller than 2 to the 30. When we do multiply them, Python casts them into regular 64-bit integers, does the multiplication, and then it breaks it back into these digits by doing a modulo and a division, and we do so with the 2:30, so that we get these 2 digits of low and high, which looks something like this. So that's the low part, and that's the high part. So yeah, now we have 128 bits for numbers larger than 2, smaller than 2:60. But what about the numbers bigger than that? Well, we get 3 digits, and then 4, and then 5. And yeah, how far does that go? Yeah, so we have 62 bits remaining. If we do that for all the 62 bits, we get a flexible array member of 2 to the 62 in length. That would mean we get right about 2 to the 62 to the power of 2 to the 30 minus 1 as the maximum largest integer, or something that has right about 200 billion digits. Sorry, 20 billion digits. To say the same thing in a bit of a different way, it would be that if you print 1 digit every microsecond, which is quite fast, it would take you 5.5 hours to print this number. Or write about 20 gigabytes of RAM, which is surprisingly, not that large. Like my laptop right now has more RAM than that. So we can actually sort of get to the limit of how big the integers are right now. Like for all practical purposes, sure, we're never really going to have a problem with that. But yeah, like that's possible. So how large can the integers really get right now? Eh, just about large enough. Yeah, that's basically everything that I have. And I'm fully open to questions. My name is Tushar. That's my GitHub and my Twitter. And yeah, thanks for listening.
If someone has questions. Okay. Check.
Thank you for your good presentation. And this is just a simple question. And what motivates you to study about this field?
Well, sometime I think 3 or 4 years ago, I started wondering about, hey, like I've been writing all this code. It's running on my CPU, but how is it running? I started looking into it, and it's just like a satiation of curiosity, I guess. But yeah, like the CPython machinery has taught me a lot of things. I had no idea what a flexible array member was before I actually started to read about how it works. And yeah, I just find like a lot of it really interesting. That's all.
Oh, thank you. So can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
As you said, the other languages use a kind of different type of integer, but Python use the original one. So do you know why it happened?
Yeah. So to clarify on that, Python is specifically designed in a way to be as little cognitive effort as possible, so that you have to think as less as required, right? The way it was designed in the 90s was to fill a need. The need was to not have to write systems programs in C when the program is relatively simple. Say you have to write a small program that has to talk to the operating system, but it's not doing anything advanced. It was built in a way to be able to do that, but to be able to do that really fast, so that the same C program might take you 1 day to build, but the same Python program can take you 1 hour. So to keep this design in mind, things like having maximum maximum integer sizes would have been a problem. So to just not have to think about what size my data is, it's as simple as just use int. So there are pros and cons to both of them. Like we do trade some speed, like when it comes to simple math. Like compared to C, we are doing boxing and unboxing of the data because we have a struct, and the struct contains the integer. So to do the math, you have to take it out, multiply, then pack it back in. So there's some speed limitations, but it's like mostly to reduce the cognitive load.
Thank you.
Thank you for your talk, Tushar. I just have 2 quick questions. One is out of curiosity, like in Java and C++, big integers, do Python can go far beyond the threshold, or it's still within the limits of what C++ and Java can go?
It's in the same sort of ballpark, I would say, in the sense that ultimately what they say is that like it depends on the size of your RAM, which like I assume that to be true for Python as well. It's not true for Python, at least it seems like. There is somewhat of a hard limit. There would be somewhat of a hard limit for Java and JavaScript and so on as well. But it's just depends on the implementation. My guess would be that it's in a very close ballpark in all the languages.
Got it. One more question is, you mentioned about in Python we do the, for big multiplications, we do the unpacking and the packing.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility of data loss during the same?
Yeah, exactly. So with 32-bit types, that's one of the reasons why we do this thing where we only pack the bottom 30 bits when we're doing the math. Like essentially here you can see that we're taking two separate digits, the A and the B, and we're converting them into a single data and then breaking it back down into 2 digits. Now we have 2 digits. It's like you can imagine that if we were multiplying 2 numbers that were more than 1 digit each, we would have to do carryover, like where we do the multiplication. Now the high part has to be carried over to the next set of multiplication. So the largest value here already is going to be about 60 bits, because we have 30 and 30, that's 60. But if you add stuff from carryover, it can spill into 61 or 62. Then if you do like millions of these multiplications, like in a chain, it can get fairly close. But like that's why the algorithm is designed in a way that we cap it to 30 bits per digit, so that when we do the carryovers, we don't have to sort of account for the overflow and data loss. So for all representable numbers, like up to 10 to the 200 billion, there will be no data loss when you do arithmetic.
Any other questions? Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, could we just revisit the encoding, because I was looking at that 1, 2, 3, 4 and I couldn't fit it onto the bit representation, so I'm missing something there. If we could go through that again.
I'm sorry.
So if
this
that
one?
encoding where we had the 1, 2, 3, 4 in OB digits, when I look at the ones and zeros of the binary, I can't map it onto 1, 2, 3, 4. So would you mind just refreshing how that works with the LV tag and the OB digit?
It might be a bit off. The representation itself is not 1, 2, 3, 4, but like this part, these 32 bits, should be exactly 1, 2, 3, 4. Like my representation might be off, but like that should be like 1024, and then like 128 and 64 and 16 and 2. That should add up to 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because I'm seeing on the right nibble is 2, and then I'm seeing 8, 12, 13, and then I'm seeing 4. So I'm only seeing 3 nibbles. So I'm missing something there.
Okay. Yeah. Like this.
Oh, it's decimal. Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah, like this part is decimal, and like practically this is decimal as well, because in hex and in decimal, it's just 6, and like that's just a decimal 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, just a small but important point I missed then.
Yeah, my bad. Well, I mean, yeah, I should have clarified, but yeah, like no prefix in front. That's a decimal. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? One last call again. Any other questions? All right, then. Thank you very much for a wonderful talk, Tushar. Let's give a big round of applause again to speaker Tushar.
Thank you.